A bottle of 1947 Château Cheval-Blanc sold for $304,375 in 2010. Nobody was stupid enough to pay that for Jew. The buyer wasn't thirsty, they were executing a financial thesis. Wine, especially aged wine from specific regions, operates as a manufactured scarcity machine. The bottle itself is almost irrelevant. What matters is the story locked inside: geography, vintage, provenance, and time. Follow the incentives and you'll see why collectors treat a cellar like a portfolio. Exhibit 1: terroir, that's the French word for the dirt. But it's not mysticism, it's geology and climate encoded into flavor. A Burgundy vineyard might span 50 meters and produce grapes worth triple the price of the vineyard next door. The boundary is literal. Soil composition, slope angle, frost risk, sunlight hours, these aren't poetic flourishes. They are measurable variables that determine yield and quality. The dirt has a price tag. Exhibit 2: the aging mechanism. When you cork a bottle, you're not preserving it, you're betting on chemistry. Tannins soften, flavors marry. A wine at 20 years old tastes fundamentally different from the same wine at 5 years old. That transformation, that time-locked improvement, is what buyers are paying for. The producer doesn't do the work, time does. And time is the one asset nobody can manufacture more of. Exhibit 3: supply collapse. The 1947 vintage in Bordeaux was exceptional. Frost killed vines across Europe, yields dropped catastrophically, and only a handful of Châteaux produced anything remarkable. 75 years later, most of those bottles are gone, consumed, lost to cork failure. Stolen, the remaining stock, it's finite, literally finite, and demand has only grown. This is where investment potential enters the conversation, not as advice but as mechanism. Collectors don't buy old wine to drink it. They buy it because the supply is shrinking while wealth is expanding globally. A hedge fund manager in Shanghai wants the same 1947 Cheval Blanc as a billionaire in London. Only one bottle can satisfy both. The price reflects that math. But here's the catch: authentication is the entire game. A forged 1947 is worthless, worse than worthless, it's a liability, so the industry built provenance infrastructure. Auction houses maintain records. Bottles are tracked through ownership chains. Chemical analysis confirms age. The paperwork is worth more than the wine. That's not accident, that's design. Spirits operate similarly but with different mechanics. A 50-year-old single malt Scotch ages in oak. The wood imparts flavor, but the distillery controls the aging process entirely. They decide when to bottle, they decide the supply. Unlike wine, where nature sets the vintage, a distillery can make another 50-year batch if they have 50 more years. The scarcity is deliberate. Exhibit 4: the collector economy. Serious wine collectors don't treat cellars as pantries, they treat them as museums with insurance policies. A collector spending $500,000 on a cellar isn't planning to drink it. They're parking capital in an asset class that's tangible, storable, and historically has appreciated faster than inflation. The wine is the vehicle. Wealth preservation is the destination. The business model is elegant. The producer makes the product once, sells it once, then profits forever from scarcity. A Château in Bordeaux sold their 1947 for maybe $50 at release. Today, that same bottle, if authentic, is worth $6,000. The producer sees none of that, but they've already planned the next vintage to be equally scarce. The cycle repeats. Exhibit 5: the marketing infrastructure. Fine wine auctions have become cultural events. Christie's, Sotheby's, they don't just sell bottles, they sell narratives. A 1992 Screaming Eagle Cabernet isn't just wine. It's the story of a small California vineyard that challenged Bordeaux's dominance. That story, that mythology, that status signal, that's what drives the price. The liquid is secondary. So when a bottle breaks the six-figure mark, you're not looking at a pricing error. You're looking at the intersection of finite supply, global wealth expansion, cultural prestige, and the human need to own something that says I arrived. The economics are transparent once you stop thinking about taste and start thinking about scarcity. That's the business. That's always been the business. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research. Subscribe for more breakdowns of how luxury markets actually work, where the real incentives hide, and how fortunes are built on scarcity. Subscribe for more breakdowns of how luxury markets actually work, where the real incentives hide, and how fortunes are built on scarcity. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research.